Well, smell, the way it works is that you deposit a part of you. It's like almost like you save it in this time capsule in a scent, and it becomes encapsulated in that memory, because the way that memory works is that it's like concatenated with these scents. And I can whip out a scent from the kitchen and it'll send you back to like Pakistan 35 years ago in your grandma's kitchen. And you'd be reliving what you lived back then. So you've made this spiritual commitment to certain scents because you spent your life smelling them. So for someone to challenge that, it's like they're challenging your life. Think of that. Scent works in very, very miraculous ways in the way that the mind weaves its memories and its lived moments with olfactory experiences. That's what I find.
It's very powerful, yeah. It's like a time machine. I mean, it can just instantly take you back somewhere.
Instantly transport you. So when you say that, when I smell it years later, I say, no, I like this. The thing that you're saying that you like is your life.
Yeah, so like if something has like a really strong effect on you and really makes you feel good, even if you don't like the smell of it, I think if you come back to it later, you'll actually probably like it, you know. And I see what you're saying. It's reminding you of your past, and you're just
the days that are no more. There's this Tennyson poem, you know, the soft as remembered kisses after death, gentle. It's like he lost like a really good friend, and then he went into this dirge mode of like singing these eulogies, and he talks about the days that are no more. Is that he says, "Oh, death in life, the days that are no more." As the mind ponders and reflects on like the times when you were a teenager or a child or growing up, or when you had your first crush or whatever. And that is you can't take that back anymore, except if you have a scent that you were smelling during those times.
So what this, what it makes me think of is, the West, where everything is so commoditized and so cheap and artificial, McDonald's and everything, food, the smells, perfumes. Everything is so artificial and stripped down of its intensity and complexity, right? That it used to have in the past.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would guess that this, you take people who are developing Alzheimer's, for example. It's a multifactorial disease. There's like 30 to 50 different, causes.
Yeah.
And one of the things might be just that our lives have become impoverished. Our experiences have become.
There's nothing to remember
anymore. The sense experiences have become quite impoverished.
We've been stripped of our experience of life and of nature and of our own feelings, and it's like this packaged, like fast food kind of existence. Like you just open up the can and you consume, and then you go on, then you call it a day. It's like you go to sleep. Next morning,
it's robotic.
You put the cereal in the bowl, and then you put milk, and then you eat, then you get on the train, then you go. There's no time to actually like stop and just exist, and you like experience the depth of that feeling that I am like here now, and what does it mean? What am I doing? So this is like that pause button.
Mm-hmm.
Doing this is like especially for the people in the Far East, it's a whole ceremony. Like they stop. Making tea is like just to make green tea is like they stop, they prepare it, they put hot water in the pot, they rinse it. It's like this whole culture that's built around tea and incense and kiara and smelling these notes and identifying.
It's all about connecting with other people. Right?
Yeah, and it's a social event. It's like there's other people.
It's a social lubricant.
I mean, can you believe? I find it astounding. I find it shocking personally that it's been now almost like an hour. I don't know how long it's been.
Yeah.
I haven't checked my Facebook account a single
Exactly.
time.
I was thinking about this. You know, you go and visit your family, and everyone's on their phone or their computer, and they're all sitting in the one room, but everyone's in their own little world.
There you are.
You know, you need something to share with other people, and in the West, people use intoxicants and stuff, but this is so much better. Your mind is there.
This is whole. This is healing. This is the opposite of that.
Yeah.
This is a process of healing, and of retaining one's sanity, one's identity.
Yeah.
Because
instead of sublimating yourself and
exactly
numbing yourself completely out. This is
just like flip through
turning
Instagram.
yourself off or no feeling. This is enhancing feeling. It's
exactly. And I mean, these reflections are coming from a medical practitioner, so I really appreciate that. Personally, I can relate because I read all of these medical research articles by like Dr. Mercola, and he talks about human experiences. He says that he had an article recently. He said just stop using like the social media, like have meaningful experiences with real human encounters. I even tell my wife, I say, look, when I'm in the Far East and I'm talking to these distillers, because obviously, like your kids do something, she has to let you know this happened and he did this and that. But I say, like, in my absence, I want you to focus, pretend I'm like a sailor, like I went on a boat and there's no internet, and I'm like in some far off island in the Pacific Ocean. You can't reach me. What normally humans would have to do in that, like traditionally, they would have to have a neighbor that they go to.
Yeah.
They would have to have a friend.
Right.
Like in this case, your wife, would come over and
Right.
they talk, and then, I was feeling unwell, and she made the tea and all this. Human encounters. We have lost that.
We've totally lost it.
Lost it.
I mean, I don't know if you've heard of this study, but there was a study done, I think, by Harvard back in probably the 80s of an entire town of, I think, Italian Americans that had like a certain, I don't know, there was something different about them, and they had like drastically lower rates of heart disease, right?
Yeah.
And they couldn't figure out what it was because they did everything else everyone else did, right? I mean, they ate the same red meat, they smoked, they did everything else, right? That everyone was doing wrong, possible. The sausages, everything. And the only difference was the really, really strong social bonds, it was people in the same, different generations in the same house.
Yeah.
And everyone in the town knows each other. And so really social connection is probably up there, like the top, number one. First, your connection to God, and then your connection to other human beings. It's probably the number one factor in your health.
That's really remarkable, and thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's very... it's like something we need to wake up, I think, because I think it's it's like a epidemic now. People on Instagram, people on Facebook, people want to be like virtually like in touch with other people. Like I have a person here and he doesn't want to talk to what I'm saying, or he doesn't want to talk to me, or like doesn't want to, because someone liked a post, or someone commented on a picture that they posted, or like he took a picture of the breakfast plate, put it there, and then everyone's like, wow, it's drooling.
It's so superficial, right?
That's what this is about. For me, it's
this is increasing the depth of the human experience.
100%. So I think almost out of ammunition, but I have one
What
left.
was the last one that you swayed? Do you remember?
Was it the Ceylon Solid?
I mean, it's just like hit after hit.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like, please give me one of each. I'll take one of each.
I'll consider that. So here we go. This is just like the... actually, I'll let you be the one to call the first impression. This is as close as you get to the one of them, but I won't tell you which one.
It reminds me of something that I was reading one of the reviews. The reviews are probably one of the best parts of your website.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen any other product that elicits those kind of rave reviews, you know, just beyond rave reviews. I mean, they're just like
Yeah.
ecstatic reviews sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of them, they were like, you know, I didn't realize that, you know, a human nose could smell such a sublime smell.
Wow.
So my nose is not well trained enough to
There was
even tell what I'm smelling sometimes.
one I gave you, and you said, "Is there anything that's as bitter as this?" That was the Jayapula. If you remember.
Yeah.
This is from the other side of the island. This is from New Guinea, right? So this we would call in Hokkien. This is called a papuya.
The other thing that reminds me of was that, you know, somebody said that, like, this made me almost want to cry. You know, I mean, really, you feel like crying sometimes.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
I have that experience sometimes when I smell something that's like these most, moving smells that,
Yeah.
that I've ever smelled. You know, at the right moment when you're like.
I think it's probably very personal, right? It's like you were saying, there's things in your life. It's your whole life, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
what really speaks to you. the
Exactly.
most,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
It's
So like being there, like in the Far East, like with on the hunt, and going from locale to locale, like looking for the raw materials to make this, and then having this, and then smelling it, and we're like living the agony of like, okay, are we going to find it? How are we going to do it? How are we going to carry it? How are we going to transport it? That's when I get those like really like emotionally charged experience where you feel like you're on the brink of tears. Because it's almost like despair sometimes, and it's not really despair in the sense of like I don't have any hope, or I don't have any I don't trust that it will turn out for the best, God forbid. But it's like this feeling of like desperation, like extreme need, like you need things to go right, or everything will be like everything will be lost, for the trip. Or how many people are involved, and all the logistics and the planning and everything it's a superhuman effort to make these things.
yeah. I think people probably don't realize the blood, sweat, and tears that go into
Making some of these. They don't, unfortunately.
you can't put a price tag on it, right?
You
It's
can't.
like your life.
You
You're putting your life into a bottle.
Well, I find that astounding that you should say that, because yesterday I did a parting episode with Shaky Hab, right? And I said, well, I have bad news for you. He said, what's that? He said, well, I thought you probably thought that these sessions are just going to carry on, and we would meet every morning and I just give you some kinam. He said, actually, that's what I was thinking. I said, in order for me to give you the kinam, I need to make it.
Mm.
And do you know what goes into making it? He said, no, I really don't. I said, well, we have to go there. And the last time I went, I had to fly my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law from Singapore to meet me in Phnom Penh, just so I could have their luggage space. And there's already 3 of us, right? And so 5 people just for the luggage to transport 220 kilograms of agar wood to Taiwan to get distilled. He said, well, wow. I said, and it's not just that. It's like this whole time that we're not here, that I'm not with my family, that I'm not with my kids, that I'm not with my wife, that I'm not living my sleep schedule is gone.
Yeah,
it's like the routine, the whole, internal clock is gone. So this whole time it's like you take that part of your life and you put it into a bottle. Literally, it's like converting like your life energy, the days, the nights, the adrenaline, the wakefulness, all your brain activity into one smell. I said, can you imagine what that means? He said, I can begin to imagine what that means, right?
It's really an artistic endeavor,
100%, 100%. Because if it wasn't, I mean, and this is very possible, a few phone calls can get the job done.
But that's not artisanal, it's not the artisanal, approach. You're not gonna have complete control over everything and get exactly what you're looking for.
Absolutely not. We're talking just like a voice on the other side. Will you do this? Yes. So, and his aesthetic is another thing altogether. He might think that it's okay for it to be fermented, or for it to have bugs inside, or for it to be infested with anything. You know, like, or for it to be full of mud. Or there's thousands of things that can go wrong. It might be from a totally different part of the tree than from what you were told it is. And unless you can see it, and you can heat it, and you can grade it, and do everything yourself, there's no way that it's going to turn out like this.
Yeah, what you're doing is the complete polar opposite of, commercial sense. The
100%.
180 degree as far away, extremely different as you can get, like on the other side of the universe. It's
100%. I mean, I can only fantasize, or I only dream. What would it be like if someone did the same thing that I do with this, with like jasmine? What if they did that with rose? I think of that sometimes. I think, like, why don't I go to like Bulgaria and meet these rose farmers, and why don't I go to Turkey then, and then why don't we take a detour through France and get all the different type of roses, and have these really like special batches of like supreme rose aromas. But then it's like, it's either that or this. I can't split myself in half, right? So it's like, in the end, it's always the agarwood that wins.
And I think we're really lucky, and I'm very grateful that we have somebody who, like you, who really wants to excel at something. You want to do it perfectly, right?
Which is Jazakallah khairan. That for me, that means more than anything else, really. I mean, it means that what I did had meaning. And meaning you cannot buy meaning with money. You can't put a price on it. Like, it's just, you just really made me very happy.
No, yeah, I mean, what it reminds me of is something Sheikh Nu said. He said, I heard from his doctor. I was talking to his doctor. He had just graduated med school or whatever, and was starting his residency. And I asked him, like, what's your goal in life, right?
Uh-huh.
And he said, my goal is to, retire as early as possible, and stop working. And he's like, are you crazy? I mean, that's the exact opposite of what you should be trying to do. I mean, you're just trying to make money. That's it, right? I mean, you're not trying to help people. You're not, there's no meaning in your life.
There's no meaning. There's like
other than the cash.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and he said, the other thing he said that really struck me home, and it really struck me deeply, because I'm a physician. He was like, don't go to a doctor like that. Stay as far away as you can from somebody like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not who you want to see, and that's not who you want to buy oil from. Somebody who doesn't really appreciate it and want to perfect it, and reach the farthest extent of what it the possibilities in it.
Right? I think doctors like that are probably the cause behind the like wrongful prescription being like the second leading cause of death in the States.
Yeah. After it's terrifying, right? Like, medicine is the second leading cause of death.
Yeah, it's like
it boggles the mind. I mean,
it's what it is. It's like, I think number one is like what, like you get like heart attack or something. Yeah. Number two is like just the
hospital errors, medical errors, basically.
Medical errors, the wrong prescription.
I mean, first do no harm. What happened to that, right?
Yeah, it's like, when do you get physicians like that actually care about what they tell you and the effect that it's going to have on your mental health?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that you can't just try to get it done as fast as possible. That's the difference. You have to sit there and care about what you're doing, and I think that's what you do. You're not trying to do this in the most expedient way possible to make the most money possible. I mean, if you were trying to make the most money possible, this is not what you would be
I wouldn't be doing this at all. Like thanks for mentioning that, because now what I'm leaving to right now is like, I'm going to this old, like dilapidated warehouse, and there's this Malinao stock there that's like been sitting there for like 20 years. Malinao is like, White Kinam, Borneo 3000, and we're looking at, I think, like just between like $1 to $1.5 million to buy the contents of that warehouse. Now imagine that turning into a smell, right? Which you then need to age for how many years? And people, this is the reality of this market. People would say like, oh, I have something else that smells like that. Can I have a sample? Like, I'll buy like 0.3 grams or 0.5. And you're thinking like, I just put like forget the money. I just put all this human effort. I put this whole like sweat and blood and sleepless nights and cortisol and gray hairs and balding spots. $1.5 million, and I'm gonna sell a sample for like 250. You know, one, but like my grandkids wouldn't probably be done selling it. You know, but it's like it's not about the sale.
Yeah.
Imagine if you have $1.5 million.
I think it's hard for people to understand that.
People don't
Like,
understand that.
Well, he must be trying to make money. I mean, that must be his main goal,
There's
right?
no
Like,
money.
well, they don't get it.
There's no money. There's no money.
I think you have to really explain what drives you.
Well, it's the experience. It's like doing something that enriches your human life, your existence. It's like having these moments, smelling it. It transports you to another realm. It's like the soul. We've become like encapsulated. We become like a canned into these cans of reality and of existence. It's like we live surrounded with glass and steel, and we have these artificial like looking trees, you know, that are supposed to like mimic nature. There's no nature. There's nothing. I can't breathe. I go out in the street. I can't. Like, you see me like holding my scarf like this because everything is like toxic that you smell. So it's my last, like the last thing that I can hold, which is like 100% immaculately pristine from a world which I think pretty soon we're not going to have anymore. We're not going to have.
I was just thinking today with global warming, who knows what's going to happen to the trees?
Yeah, forget global warming. It's like there's not going to be any jungle left. Like people say like, oh, there's going to be agarwood. There's no more jungle. People are planting palm trees and they're planting durian and they're planting things that they can farm like on a season to season basis. There's no more. Who's going to wait like 30, 40 years to harvest something that's even like fractionally as good as this? And we're talking centennial trees here. I mean, to get oud extraordinaire, my latest organic oud, you need 30 years, you need 40 years. So who's going to wait 40 years for him to get his money back? Unless, 40 years, realistically speaking, I don't think I'll be able to sell out of that Malinao batch that I'm going to make, inshallah, right? Within the next week, in 40 years. So 1.5 million. Well, if I put that in like bonds, or if I
you don't think you'll be able to sell it in 40 years?
I don't think so.
So, like, are you crazy? That's the question.
It's not. It's just that
why are you doing it?
But because everything is not money.
Mm.
I mean, I'm not going to run out of cheese, right? And yogurt. Okay, alhamdulillah, we have enough yogurt. We have enough bread.
The other question that I've had for a really long time is, okay, so you can appreciate it as chips, or you can turn it into oil, and it's very concentrated, much less, right?
Yeah.
So what's the reason? What drives you to turn it into oil instead of keeping it as...
Well, the oil is like this alchemy. It's like this, you encapsulate like the soul of the tree in a bottle that you can put in your pocket. Just the imagery of that for me is like, imagine that. Where chips, you need to have jars like this, and you need to have
a burner,
trunks like these, and you need to have a big room. If I had to, like all the oils that I have, if I could like miraculously turn them back into chips, I would need to buy like warehouses to put it in.
So the other thing that you've mentioned in the past is that if you wanted to make money, a quick buck, you would just turn it into chips and sell it like that.
You can. You can say chips go by the kilo. Chips go by the kilo wholesale. Right. Whereas oil, for you to sell a kilogram of like really high grade artisanal oil, it hasn't happened to me yet. It hasn't happened to me yet. I don't make the kind of oil that these big perfume houses are looking for, 10,000 a kilo, Laotian plantation, 2-year-old tree oil kind of thing. I don't make those kind of oils.
Right.
So it's the chips are a lot more, and there's a lot more people looking for chips than there are looking for oil, believe it or not.
So how do you get the privilege of even buying this? This wood that you're going to buy.
That's just like sheer. I don't believe in just blind luck, right? It's like God is giving you a gift. It's like this was destined. It had my name on it. Now, let's think about this with me, right? You've heard of like Borneo 4000? That was released in 2006, right? This is the same warehouse and the same exact lot that the Borneo 4000 materials were drawn from. Okay? And it's just sitting there and sitting there and sitting there since 2006. Now we're talking 12 years. We've seen the peak and the decline of the Chinese market. This craze in China to convert all this illegal money and whatever they had into like these assets that the government could never identify, which is what the China market was. And that wood is still there. Like, and it's like the person who owns it is Chinese. He wasn't able to sell it. He didn't even care to sell it. He didn't think about selling it. It's just like, oh, let's just leave it there. And all these sales that have had thousands of transactions throughout these years, and it hasn't gone anywhere, and I haven't had the capital. Like, who can think about like putting that kind of money down to make oil? It's like,
I mean, that's like your retirement, right? You could
that's
retire on
I
this
could
money.
retire if I was with like the doctor that you mentioned.
Yeah, put it into a mutual fund.
I should go to like
Dividends.
I could go to like the Maldives or like
or buy an apartment complex.
or buy an apartment complex, just rent
Live off
everything
the
out,
proceeds, yeah.
and then just take it easy. But no, this is it has part of my history, part of my identity is contained in that one batch of agarwood. That is the same warehouse where it all began. So for me, this is like the grand finale of, and inshallah it's not a finale, right? Inshallah it's not a finale, but Malinao harvest before the China market, centennial grandmother trees that are just sitting there in the warehouse.
Just the sound of that, centennial grandmother trees.
Yeah, it's like you're talking like really old
Gives you
growth.
goosebumps.
Yeah, and it's just sitting there, and I'm like, okay, it's about the meaning. It's about the meaning. We need to do meaningful things in order to make sense of our lives. This is what makes Ansar Oud is this doing that. So if I stop doing that, it's like I've lost my meaning.
Who are you?
Who am
Who are
I?
you then?
It impacts my desire to actually go on. It's like your existential life depends on doing something that defines you, something that gives you purpose, something that gives you meaning, something that fulfills you. For me, this is what makes me me. It's like I can't not do that. That's who I am. I can't stop it. I can't. And Kruger is like, you got to be crazy. We can buy the whole, all of Thailand and all of Sri Lanka with this money. What are you talking about? I say it's not about that. It's not about that. It's about doing what we were destined to do. This is how I see it. This is how I see it.